There are a lot of new rules in Major League Baseball this year. How are you handling the market as opposed to how you would maybe do things a little bit differently from this year to last year and in past?
So my favorite bet in Major League Baseball, and say what you want, it might be a sucker bet, but I love Nerfies. No run first inning or Yerfies, depending on the wind. If it's blowing out, you might want to bet the Yerfie there. Yes, runs first inning. When I look at this market, the rule changes are definitely going to play a factor. Offense is up in spring training right now, which means Nerfies might not be as appealing as they were last year. You might want to lean more towards Yerfies there. The pitch clock has definitely changed the rhythm of how pitchers operate, and we're seeing a lot more big swings on the ball early in games. We're seeing a lot of more offense and swings early in counts as well. So that's one thing to look at there. Another thing, when you're getting ready to bet the regular season, also pay attention to what has happened in the spring. Spring is not meaningless for betting, because if a player's hot in spring training and they get into the regular season, they have a better chance of being high. If they're cold in spring training, it's not like they're just going to turn it on when we get to the regular season. Obviously, there's outliers in every case there, but pay attention to spring and also look at these new rules and how they're going to affect the game. And one area where I'm seeing it, at least, is on offense for these players.
Yeah, and look, just with the way the rule changes are, there's going to be more base hits to the outfield because of the shift being basically thrown aside, even though some teams are trying to do the low pull by moving your left fielder over, but I'm sure that baseball will try to nip that in the bud at some point. But, it's interesting because, like you said, offense is up. I'm just curious to see how long it takes the books to adjust their totals. That's really what I'm interested in seeing over this first month.
Yeah, I mean, if I see totals opening up at 7.5 runs, which is a low total for Major League Baseball, I'm going to take that all day, especially early in the season with how we've seen these spring training games go.
Let's go to your futures here, Tanner, and you got a bunch here, and we'll start. We'll start on teams not doing anything and teams not achieving first. Let's start there. The fewest wins market, you're going to green and gold of Oakland here.
Yeah, I mean, this is a fun one for me. You'd be hard-pressed to find anyone on the Oakland A's that you knew off the top of your head. I mean, there's obviously a few, Tony Kemp, but this team really does not have that many stars. They're in a massive rebuild. They need to figure out where they're going to play baseball in the coming seasons, whether it's going to be Oakland or Vegas, let alone win baseball games. They're going to compete with the Nats for the worst record in baseball, but I think Washington does have a slightly better team. They play in a slightly tougher division, but division games are down this year. Everyone's going to play against everyone. So there's definitely room for the Oakland Athletics to get beat by other teams outside their division. When you look at the AL West, it's brutal. Houston's tremendous. The Rangers have Jacob deGrom at the front end of their rotation, and a great rotation outside of him. The Mariners have some of the best young talent in baseball. The Angels have Ohtani and Trout. So I see Oakland with their minor league roster definitely having the fewest wins this season.
And you're getting a pretty reasonable price, all things considered, with a team that I think is going to be dreadful as well. Plus 330 on the A's. They have the fewest wins in Major League Baseball. And I think you made a really good point. The balanced schedule, the more balanced schedule, could very easily play a role here where Washington may pick up a few more wins because they get games against the AL Central that they didn't get. And Oakland can't really beat anyone in that NL East or NL West, for that matter. And speaking of the NL West, we'll just go to the NL at large here before we get to your AL futures here. The race to the top in the NL is fascinating this year to me. You have 5 teams that I all think have a realistic chance to win the pennant, but you're staying out west here with your pennant winner.
Yeah, so I think the Braves, Mets, and Phillies are all going to be great, but they're going to beat up each other within the division. You look at the NL West, it's a 2-horse race, and I know a lot of people still like the Giants, but they are a true middle of the division team, in my opinion. Dodgers lost Gavin Lux. That's going to hurt them. Max Muncy really hasn't been a super reliable hitter. He was really good in 2021. 2022 did not go his way. In the COVID season in 2020, he wasn't great. That's a big bat that they need to work there for them to be good. Clayton Kershaw's the front end of the rotation for the Dodgers right now, with Walker Buehler still injured. So I don't see a lot to look forward to with this Dodgers team. But when you look at the Padres, I am ecstatic about them. You're getting them at nearly 5-1 to win the NL right now. Juan Soto, Xander Bogaerts, Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis. 3 of those 4 guys have been paid, so they just want to win. The rotation, Darvish, Musgrove, Snell. The back end's Michael Wacha. He was the guy for the Red Sox last season, so they are really set up well. And then you got Josh Hader closing games. So for the price you can get them at right now, I think they're going to turn a lot of heads.
A little surprised that San Diego actually, if you're just looking at NL West markets, forget the NL pennant for a second. I'm surprised that the Padres just are not the betting favorite out west. They're a better roster than the Dodgers.
Yeah.
They just
People
are
love
at this
the
point.
Dodgers. Yeah, I mean, bookmakers love the Dodgers. We've seen it year after year after year, but it's the better roster, especially with the injuries the Dodgers have had so far.
Let's go to the AL, and you mentioned Michael Wacha having a great year on the Sox. Now with the Padres, you are going against the grain here, Tanner. You're on the Red Sox to make the playoffs here at plus 270. Why are you on Boston?
The World Baseball Classic has literally been the Boston Red Sox show. Just keep that in mind if you think this is crazy. And the Red Sox have been having a really good spring training, 12-8 so far. They've definitely faded a little bit since the World Baseball Classic began. But you look at Masataka Yoshida hitting the cover off the ball tonight. Alex Verdugo contributing in multiple ways for Team Mexico as well. This Boston roster is not as bad as people think it is. Just because the front office didn't do the greatest job in the offseason doesn't mean they did a bad job. You still have Chris Sale in the front end of the rotation. If he can stay out healthy, which is a big if, they're going to be okay there. They tightened up the back end of the bullpen with Kenley Jansen closing games. And on offense, you have Devers, Yoshida, Tristan Casas, Alex Verdugo, Kike Hernandez. You have a lot of guys that can hit the baseball, and they also have a chip on their shoulder. And that reminds me of the 2021 Red Sox that was 2 wins away from the World Series. I'm not saying they win the American League East. I am saying, though, they make a push for the playoffs and compete for a wild card spot. And for nearly 3-1 right now, I think that's worth taking.
All right, Tanner, we have about a minute to go here. Let's get both of your home run props here. You got one with Aaron Judge. You have one with Yordan Alvarez. Where are you looking with those two?
So Aaron Judge hit 62 last year, obviously. I think he's going to regress a little bit. We've seen it. Guys get paid. They take a step back. AL East pitchers know how to attack him this year, and he's also got to face a lot of different pitchers, knowing that the division games have been cut down, and he's going to play everyone. You look at Yordan Alvarez, hit 37 home runs last season in 135 games. He's only 25 years old. I think he's going to lead the lead baseball in home runs at 10-1 odds right now. I'm going to take Aaron Judge under 45.5. I'm going to go with Yordan. I'm going to take him to lead the league, take him over his home run prop as well. He's competing against Trout, Alonso, Schwarber, and Vladdy. I just think he's got a ton of pop, and he's still getting better. He's 2 years away from his prime season. So when I look at that, I got to go with Yordan Alvarez to lead the league, and I think he's just going to explode onto the scene once again, as we saw last year.
He's Tanner Kern. Again, you can find his work at DraftKings and at Forbes as well. Tanner, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
Visit VSiN.com to get current odds, listen for free, find showtimes, and download VSiN sports betting podcasts.